Hello everyone, welcome back to Communication and Law. When we last talked, we had looked at 4 of the 5 sources of law you see on your screen right now. We had looked at common law, equity law, statutory law, and constitutional law. Today we're going to look at executive orders and administrative rules. Executive orders come from the executive branch of government. So you'll recall that in the United States, we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Executive orders are orders or declarations that are issued by the elected officers in that executive office. So at the federal level, that would be the president. At a state level, that would be a governor. At a local level, that might be a mayor. But the power of the elected officials in those jurisdictions is ultimately defined by the Constitution of that body, right? So if it's at the state level, again, the state constitution, or at the federal level, it would be the federal constitution. Now, citizens and groups are able to challenge executive orders through lawsuits, and those would then ultimately get brought before the Supreme Court in that jurisdiction and would be decided by the judicial branch as to whether or not an executive officer had exceeded their authority with a particular order. Another way in which law is made through the executive branch is through administrative rules. These are generated by the many different administrative agencies of government at the federal, state, and local levels. So at the federal level, this might be the Environmental Protection Agency. At a state level, you may have a state office for Department of Children and Families or something like that. All of these agencies have rules for how they are governed, and those rules are a part of law as it's issued from the executive branch. Now, courts can review agency decisions if they think that the original commission, the agency itself, is unconstitutional. So let's say the EPA says that a particular type of household cleaner should not be allowed to be sold. Well, the court could say, you know what, we don't think the EPA is even a valid agency to begin with. So that could disband the agency and therefore overrule the decision. The court might also decide that the commission or agency has exceeded its authority and said, hey, you don't have the authority to determine whether or not this product should be sold. Or the court could decide that an agency has somehow violated its own rules in making a decision. Or lastly, it can also say, look, there's simply no evidentiary basis for your ruling, right? Actually looking at the facts of the decision and the issue that they were looking at and saying, hey, you just made the wrong call here. That does it for executive orders and administrative rules. We'll dig into the judicial system more in some future videos.